as a freelance.
A design, okay.
Yeah, but mostly I do illustrations.
Oh, really?
Comic book and stuff.
Interesting. I must exchange my card with you later. Yeah.
Oh yeah, my card.
Oh, don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Oh, okay. No, you don't have to.
I don't have my card with me.
Then I'll give you mine and maybe we
I
just
can give you my book.
get connected. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I will address you as David Wee, is it?
David Quick, yes.
Training Vision.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It'll be about 10, 15 minutes.
It's up to you. I'm not
Okay.
going to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
David Wee. Training Vision Private Limited, right?
Mm.
So I address you as the managing director or?
See you.
Oh, sorry, CEO. Okay. Please have some more. Sorry. Compliments on sandwiches.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Okay. So here are the basic rules. Very easy. What will happen is you just have to look at the camera. Sorry. Now I realize why they are for. You just have to look at the camera for a few seconds. After I introduce you to the world, we just did our face to. I'll just turn to you and you just talk.
In conversation.
That's right. Just in conversation. Yeah. Same for you. Now you know. Okay. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. We just
Yeah.
look at the camera. Hi. Welcome to the National Builders Choice Online News. I'm Robin Stienberg. Welcome to my show again. And today we have a very interesting guy. And it's not just a guy. He's actually Mr. David Kui, CEO of Training Vision Private Limited, who does a lot of training specializing for executives. And these training, programs that he does are unique and probably in partnership with some of the best institutions in Singapore, which is one of them known as the Singapore Management University. David Kui, welcome to my show.
Thank you, Robin.
And it's amazing that you have progressed so much over the last couple of years with your company, Training Vision, and with your partnership with SMU, also known as the Singapore Management University, where you educate and edify the senior executives as well as the executive in the marketplace. Now, you recently spoke about innovation and leadership, and we'd like to touch on that very closely and narrow it down about your purpose, in life, being the founding member of the Training Vision Private Limited. What exactly, caused you to start this cause, and what has that brought who you are today?
Sure. First, a little bit about SMU and the collaboration and partnerships that we have. It's actually focused on the area of future leader, and with the SMU Week in We Center, and because universities today are moving not just from academic higher education but also into practice education, education for the real world. So what we do, being in professional skills development as well as executive education, with the SMU Week in We Center, Dr. Kapal Singh, we're able to therefore redesign and reframe a new form of education that reaches out to executives in the corporate world out there. Now, related to our purpose, I think it kind of lends back to human potential. So when we are in the space of future leader, we are talking about the potential in every individual to be able to lead, not just in a present context, but also in a fast-changing world, and to have the right competencies to be able to fulfill the potential as a leader. So likewise, when we straddle that into the organizational workforce, be it in innovation or be it in emotional intelligence, be it in relationship management, it's always beyond the program, the knowledge and the skills, into what is resident in an individual, in a team, in an organization, and how that process of potential can be realized through the work that we do in that sense.
Now, speaking about the potential, in today's market, do you think, leadership in Singapore, especially the new generation, has got what it takes to take on, the new challenges ahead in Singapore?
Well, I guess the rapid rate of change creates a situation where things may happen even before you know it, in that sense. So one of the aspects of leadership is being able to be observant of the changes that are happening. So this observational quality, if you really talk about the younger leaders as well as the senior leaders, do we have an observational quality of what's happening around us in the environment? And this kind of keenness to observe becomes a competency or a trait that would be very integral and important in our way moving forward. I mean, like every time when I drive home, basically, I always make a detour around my estate, and my wife will say, hey, why don't you just get the shortest way back, because I need to do the laundry. But the question is that things are changing. Shops are opening up, restaurants are basically popping up, neighbors are changing, the landscape is also changing, and this whole keenness to know what's happening is very important and central to be able to make sense of the future and to be able to adapt and to be able to thrive even as a leader in a complex and a fast-changing world, in a sense. Yeah. So if you ask me whether the leaders in Singapore, young and old, are ready, I would say that many will be caught by surprise because the business as usual is no longer usual anymore unless they develop a keen sense of observation and the quality to be able to observe what's happening and what's changing.
Wow. Now, what is entrepreneurship and leadership defined today? What is the difference between these two? Can an entrepreneur be a leader at the same time, or can a leader also be an entrepreneur at the same time?
I think the whole notion of an entrepreneur and a leader, what you imply by that is that it's an individual who is an entrepreneur, it's a leader who maybe is not an entrepreneur but is a leader. But if we really look at the whole aspect of enterprise, which is creative, which generates new value, which is productive, which is profitable, then it's not about individuals. It's really about an integration of different skill sets, what I call the plural model. That means, in other words, an entrepreneur who has an enterprise building capacity, which is a kind of like an instinct to build, will need probably somebody who has a very keen sense of social intelligence to be able to understand how to mobilize people and inspire people towards building whatever the entrepreneur may want to build. And that is only two facets of an organization, which is a social intelligence as well as the builder instinct. But there are also other facets within the organization, because if you look at the aspect of Steve Jobs and Apple, certainly he had a maker instinct. He wanted to build something. He was able to inspire people towards a shared vision, but there's also a need to execute flawlessly. And therefore, Steve also needs to listen to people who have that capacity to know systems, to build processes, to ensure good corporate governance, and that again becomes another aspect of what I call an enterprise, which is plural. So what I'm really saying here is that the days of singular capability resident in a individual is going to be kind of passed over by the days where organizations, to be able to thrive and continue to maintain sustainability and corporate capability, is a plural model rather than a singular hero-based kind of a leadership model.
Now, you first started this organization, what actually inspired you to do so?
What inspired me to do so?
Yes.
A deep belief in every single human being as somebody who has a lot more value than what they have realized in their life thus far.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. So was there a moment in life that you experienced that may have sparked you in some form of inspiration that, and also you found a cause that this is the right thing to do. You got to start this movement, called Trading Vision, and is that how did it come about?
Sure. I think by observing what's the current state creates for you with a certain discontent of the current state to be able to envision a future state. So if you look at the current state of organizations, we invest in machinery, we invest in intellectual capital, we invest in infrastructure. But do we invest in the people? And that's why I talk about human potential. And do we treat them as a strategic asset that probably becomes the most important asset of a fast, complex and changing world? So that's one aspect there. So when I look at organizations, the way they are functioning by Wall Street standards, it's always about your top line, your bottom line. It's always about shareholders' returns. It's always about the investment in every other thing, except really the very asset that makes the organization, which is the people, in a sense. Now, where you have Standards and Poor's, which was really putting its measurements on the tangible asset in the 80s, where 84% of an organization's value is really anchored in the tangible asset, and the intangible asset is only the other 16%. Within a decade from the 80s, that percentage has reversed over, where the value of an organization is based on the intangible asset rather than the tangible assets. So infrastructure, machineries, those things begin to be obliterated. Even financial capital, because we know that capital is afloat and very free in the world. It's a matter of who gets it, in a sense. But then moving towards intangible assets, like ideas, innovation, the whole basis of creativity, and the basis of employee engagements. These are the new terminologies, these are the new determinants of a future that, though uncertain as it may be, is exciting. And if we know where to place our bets, and I guess that will be the only language that I use that the Wall Street people will basically like me for, because if I place my bet on the most important asset, which is the people, I know it will pay off in a dividend many times more than you could ever place a bet in any other tangible asset.
Now, what kind of future do you foresee in the area of innovation and creativity?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have comic book artists, we have designers, we have architects, and so forth. Here in Singapore and Southeast Asia, and also perhaps beyond. What kind of future can you roughly gauge and determine? You as one of the guys on the forefront of training and vision.
Okay. I'm a system thinker. I'm an organizational development believer. So let me start with the kind of future of what the organization can be like. I see it as multifaceted, and I will call it 5 facets. So I see the aspect of the organizational foundation as important. That means there has to be good corporate governance, there has to be an investment in the future and the vision, which must be very clearly articulated. There has to be good stewardship. Those are foundations. I see it as also a corporate formulation, which is the second F. That means there must be procedures, processes, policies that are able to formulate the organization and gives it some sense and sensibility in terms of how to execute. I see it as also the corporate fervor. There must be an inspired sense of excitement about the core of what the organization is, rather than just its products and just its profit and loss at the end of the year. There must be an organizational family where we really go back into the days where it is not about only putting in resources to the successful and the rest basically to a matter of chance because they are under-resourced. So families take care of one another. We are a kind of like a brother's keeper in that sense. And finally, I think there should also be a corporate foresight, which is what you talk about in terms of innovation. The ability to draw from the past, which is hindsight, to generate insight in the present, so that with the hindsight and the insight, one is able to project into the future with foresight. So here you go, foundation, formulation, fervor, family, and foresight. And I see an organization of that manner, therefore being rich and diverse in its ecology. Because in that respect then, the people in the organization, whatever their uniqueness of the gifts that they bring to the organization, is an integral part of the success. And it is not one where you have the haves and the have-nots, where you have the management and the rest. It's not one which is divisive, but it's one which is integrative, one which is synthesis, and one which allows for organizations to have a lot of absorptive capacity, because the value that it plays in every single gift and facet of the organization that is contained in multiple individuals and not just in a singular individual. That is the kind of envisioning that I have for organizations in the future.
Amazing. And now about training vision itself, what kind of KPIs do many of your students and as well as your clients have taken back? What kind of results have they seen so far after their experience with training vision that we have founded?
Well, what our clients say of us, as they say it, we can't say it for them,
Of course.
will be our flexibility, our adaptability, and that's important because a lot of times consultants and training organizations can be prescriptive, very programmatic, but when you deal with clients, each one is different. There are complex issues involved, situations change and it's very dynamic. So our ability to be very solution-centric, very flexible, very adaptable, and to be able to really build solutions around what really matters to that particular client, that particular organization, that particular division in that sense.
Well, now you spoke about flexibility and able to adapt. Is that one of the core values which you have instilled in your students?
It is a core value that we feel we need to instill in everybody. Because the moment we stop adapting is the moment that we stop growing, learning, and observing. And that's where I come back to this issue of the absorptive capacity. Because you may be a very good designer, you may be a very good finance analyst, but then you're so full of your capability, like a full cup, that you basically have no other space for any other things to be in the cup other than whatever you're very good in. And in a stable environment that works, because that's where you maximize your value, in your skills, in your uniqueness. But in an environment that changes, which is complex, then whatever you have in the full cup is no longer sufficient to adapt to the new environment and capitalize on the new opportunities. So that's where we then end up in a situation where highly successful people in the past cycle can end up so full of themselves that as a full cup, they have no more capacity to grow and to adapt, and then it becomes no longer a maximization of value but a diminishing value, in that sense.
Now, what kind of prescriptions would you give, if let's say for aspiring entrepreneurs who want to succeed in the fast, rapid changing markets today? Because many have asked, no, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a leader, I do not know whether should I be a leader or not, I'm being asked to be a leader, or I'm an entrepreneur but I'm not too sure, how can I go about? Is there any prescriptions that you can give to them to encourage them that it is the right thing to do?
Learn and continue to learn.
Really? Is that all you gotta give?
That's all I got to give, because the very basis of having the capacity to learn allows you to adapt, absorb, remodel yourself, innovate, and the very aspect to which when you do not have the capacity to learn, you basically stop the whole process of growth. And I think in a more somber note, you may even stop the whole process of living in that sense.
Okay. Now, are you still learning?
Of course, every day, even as we are talking, I mean, we spoke before the interview, and you gave me tremendous insight into your slice of your life.
So, but speaking about the slice of life, many have asked, if you are still continuing learning, right into your prime age, what sort of passion do you have other than just being part of the training vision? Do you have a hobby or some sort or apart from speaking about hobby, there is such a thing as anger management. Do you have a course on anger management where your students go to training vision and they're able to manage their anger, with their customers and their superiors?
We do emotional intelligence.
Oh, it comes to emotional intelligence. Oh, wow.
And
how intelligent can we get?
you mean in terms of emotional? Well, I think emotional intelligence has a lot more than just the intellect in a sense.
Okay.
We do resilience, which is another aspect of how people respond to adverse circumstances. Now, what I mean is that anger management, if you are dealing only with a behavior modification, it's a very effective therapy. But if you look at anger management as a manifestation of deeper dimensions of your emotional makeup, and also deeper dimensions of your basic, what we call your psychology, and the whole aspect of neuroscience, how you think, then it goes into not just managing and modifying the behavior, it goes into managing the antecedent to that behavior, which is really how you think as formed and shaped by your past experiences in that sense. So in that context, that is how we would approach anger management, and that's how we would approach anything that we do, because there is more than meets the eye, and I think the sense of the present, the now, the gratification of a need in organizations for profits or for productivity, those are all very important things. But then I think the insight and the reflection into the deeper aspects of what really makes organizations behave in a way that is dysfunctional, what makes individuals engage in a way that is inspirational, motivational, and deeply meaningful. And those are the things that we have to go behind the curtain. And those are the things where I align it back to what we call potential. And a lot of times we are only looking at current state, what's now, how's the guy performing, is he a star, how much applause he has, does he have a standing ovation with a show. But the question here is that no star appeared on stage and had a standing ovation. It was somebody somewhere who started someday, and it was his potential that is being realized, that you see the evidence of his performance today. So that's what we are all about, being able to bring about value in people, in potential, and helping them along that journey.
Wow. Now, speaking of journey, how important is customer service today? Customer behavior among the corporations, as well as outside the corporation and corporate life, and as well as for your organization, what is your philosophy of customer service?
Okay, I think customer service has been framed from a particular perspective, and that is the perspective of customer satisfaction and what the frontline people do in terms of their responsiveness, their friendliness. We need to look at it in this way. Every individual born wants to be accepted, wants to please, wants to create value for the audience around him. Imagine when you were young and you can't wait but to sing to your parents, that kind of thing. So we are all born to please, to create value. But then we become part of a system. The system inhibits us, The system sometimes even promotes contrarian behavior to customer service. It's so disempowering that nobody wants to serve, for the very reason that if I put myself on the line with the customer, then basically it may turn out to be a bad situation to which my complaint ratios goes up. You know, you have that story where you talk about the dog that basically pees in the house, and you get so upset about the dog that pees in the house, such that what you do is that you basically beat the dog and then throw him out of the window. So you use penalization. You use the aspect where incentives are affected when you have a high complaint ratio. So what happens is that the dog gets so conditioned that he pees and then he jumps out the window before you even have a chance to catch him and beat him and throw him out, in a sense. So you have a situation where institutional systems, institutional culture is developed a culture of customer service that actually is antithetical to customer service. And as a result, whenever people see any whiff of a disgruntled customer, they will by and large try to avoid the customer by a mile, because as long as I engage, then that complaint, that unhappiness becomes attributed to me. You know, so what I'm really saying is that it has to be a total system of customer service, and it has to be a total system that comes from the belief that every individual, when they are born, is actually born in a way where they want to create value, they want to please. You know, and it is basically life and systems that have made them otherwise. And we got to come back to that fundamental belief, and then we got to look at the total system in the organization to be able to design systems that can liberate that desire to create value, that desire to please.
Wow.
In that sense.
Now, what advice would you give, for corporations that wants to, or even individuals as well, entrepreneurs, for them to create value for the customers? You know, what advice would you give? At least probably 3 points if you have in mind.
Well, I think fear has to be taken out.
Oh, fear.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, fear.
The fear of being kind of like stepping out of the boundaries. You know, I mean, there's this corporate culture that always says that you can be smart, but don't be too smart. You know, kiang do ho, ma ge kiang. You know, that kind of situation. So fear has to be taken out so that people can really act naturally with initiative and resourcefulness. I think that's very significant. I think the total system in the organization has to be a viewpoint of management. Remember, I talked about the facets of the organization, and in the recent innovation conference in SMU, I was talking about how the marketing director was so frustrated with the rest of the organization that he took his team out for retreats and planning and all, isolating himself even more from the rest of the organization. And even though he was very external, customer focused, but by his actions, he was actually not solving the problem, but he was exacerbating the problem. So there has to be a total system in terms of helping organizations be able to serve their customers better in that sense. And then thirdly, I think there has to be celebration. Because why do we beat ourselves down in the sense that what we didn't do right when we should be celebrating what we do right? You know, make a big thing out of the small things that you do right, and people will start to make it a big thing, you know, because they feel that you are really celebrating the right things rather than penalizing the wrong things in a sense.
Wow. Now, do you have a code that you live by every day? I mean, is there surely, your parents may have passed down something to you to live on. Is there one code that you live by?
Well, I value my faith, because that is a very important position of understanding that you are not self-made, you know, and all your gifts and all your abilities come from the Creator. You value people, because by the very fact that you value people, you include them into your life. They can be a blessing to you and you can be a blessing to them. And ultimately, you have a very deep aspect of believing that this is and can always be a better world, you know, so that you never lock yourself out in any state of achievement or success but you're constantly remodeling and recreating.
Amazing. And thank you, David, for joining us here
Thank
at
you,
the
Robin.
National Business Choice. And it's all about faith in yourself, in your beliefs, believe in the people, and believe in able to do what you can do for the right now and the future. Here at the National Business Choice, Robin Stienberg, thank you for joining me with David Kui from Training Visions, and have a great week ahead. And don't forget to look up at his website. And what's your website? Where can they find
It's
you?
www.trainingvision.com.sg.
That's right. There you go. Stay with David Kui and Robin Stienberg. Have a great day.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you.
Oh,
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Oh, it's interesting to listen.
Yeah,
oh see, he likes my show now.
yeah, that's right. I'll give you my card and
I'll give you my phone.
okay. Hope you have a good session too.
Something my book.
Oh yes, he will. Bob, he's a comic book guy. I like that.
Ah, okay.
He drew this.
Singaporean?